everybody's favourite and in no way controversial game dev, Bungie,
Say ooh.
are changing lanes with their new upcoming IP. But, and there is a but, is this change in direction a terrible mistake for the studio? Or will it offer a shot at much needed redemption? Let's find out. Okay, so Marathon, what do we know? It's a reboot of a 90s video game series that first put Bungie on the map. It'll be a first-person extraction shooter with sci-fi themes. No official release date yet, but we're probably looking at around early 2025. It's going to release on next-generation consoles, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, as well as PC. So it's been confirmed that cross-play and cross-save will be enabled. And I'm sure that Bungie will in no way exploit this by making us pay for the same DLC across multiple platforms. Again.
Are you sure about that?
Realistically, we know very little about the game at this point, but purely based on the trailer, it will have a vibrant colour palette and a soundtrack that fits the game style perfectly. As previously mentioned, the game is being developed by Bungie, famous for the Halo series and the massively popular online multiplayer looter shooter, Destiny, and it'll also be Bungie's first non-Destiny project in a decade. Now for those who aren't well versed in it, extraction shooters typically drop players into activities with a mix of PvP and PvE, and require the player to escape to an extraction zone with the gear that they've acquired during that run in order to keep it. Okay, so that's basics covered. Now let's jump into the video and talk about why this is an unusual decision for Bungie. So, questions, comments, concerns. Extraction shooters are not very casual friendly or forgiving, and that makes them somewhat of a Marmite genre for most players. And for any American viewers, Marmite is a disgusting brown goo that some British people love to eat because they're degenerates. Anybody with taste buds will agree that it's disgusting, and thus we get the expression, like Marmite. Bungie's core audience has grown accustomed to Destiny, a franchise that has become increasingly casual friendly and forgiving over the years. The game literally showers players with loot from every angle, and there's no risk of that loot being taken away once it's been earned. Except for when Bungie decides to sunset content, but we're not going to talk about that. Bungie's expectations for Marathon will be huge. I mean, how can they not be, when they're so used to the level of player engagement that they get with Destiny? Even at low points, the game still has an average player base of around 40,000 people a day. And while I have no doubt that the game will sell well on launch, I do have doubts about how many players will stick around for more than a couple of weeks. I mean, even I struggle with the swirling whirlpool of misery that is dying unexpectedly and saying goodbye to all the progress that you've made over the past few hours. Yeah, that's real fun. With Destiny being the golden goose for Bungie, a concern of mine is that the studio will pile the majority of their resources into Marathon under a false sense of security, and will only provide basic content updates to their previous flagship title, likely mostly considering of those wonderful microtransactions. In this event, we'd likely see the remaining Destiny player base wither away, which would be catastrophic for Bungie if Marathon is not a commercial success and is not able to retain players. Not to mention that Big Daddy Sony would not be very happy with them either. This all might sound very doom gloom and a little bit too British for you. Bungie are not the loved and cherished studio that they once were anymore. The Destiny community is generally in uproar about something. As far as I can tell, it's usually pretty justified. Myself personally, I've kind of floated in and out of Destiny 2 over the years, and whenever I return I'm always in awe of the level of microtransactions and the content that's locked behind paywalls. It's insane for a AAA game. I mean, what the f*** is a dungeon key doing in this game? Seriously. Not to mention the many controversies that surround the studio that seem to come up every few weeks. I think being a tad skeptical is probably a wise approach to Marathon and any other IPs that follow. That being said, I'm not here to poop on Bungie. I still think that they are capable of producing some of the best video game content out there. I mean, even after a decade, Destiny still feels great to play, even if a lot of the content sucks. And their sound design and their soundtracks are right up there at the top of the pile for me. Rip Salvatore. So if an extraction shooter isn't the right move, then what is? I mean, it's obvious to me that given the ravenous player base that is the Destiny community, there is still a real appetite for an MMORPG-esque game with a Bungie flavour. Honestly, I can't help but wonder why they didn't just do it again. And no, not a Destiny 3. That would also be a poor decision in my opinion, and if you're interested to know why, let me know down below and I will make a video on it. What I mean is to create a new online multiplayer world, but with a new story, new theming, not Destiny. Like a fantasy style game or something like that. You know, replace the space lasers and flying jet skis with swords and, I don't know, wizard hats. Something fresh. I think the Bungie's team, or what's left of it at this point, could absolutely create a world like that. Their ability to create atmosphere has always been incredible. Let's just listen to the boot up screen for Destiny 1 just for a few seconds. Be patient, I promise you it's worth it. It's just iconic. And speaking of fantasy, Hello Games, who still have one of the strongest company names in video game development.
That's bait.
A new IP at the Game Awards, and it looks great. And I really mean that too, like no sarcasm. It looks really, really good. Yeah, I know Hello Games is hardly the pinnacle of game devs, but they fixed No Man's Sky, so let's just give them a tiny bit of optimism that this game is half as good as it looks, because it looks real good. And I really want to play it. It's definitely uncertain times for Bungie. This once great studio has been reduced to little more than greed and means, but I do hope that they find their way back to their former glory days, if that's even possible, which I'm not sure it is. But we can hope. And that about does it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. I am brand new to YouTube and I will be sticking around, so if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. And with that, good night, sub, peace.